Um, well, you got what you wanted. Ohio State's no longer the number one team in the country, which is nice for you, I guess.
I didn't ask for all this today. I did
It
this.
really
This
didn't. And to be fair, the Ohio State thing, I'm fine with. I'm not saying like, oh, like how could they possibly move us down? We beat an unranked team. Georgia beat a ranked team, and the styles are pretty similar. Georgia blew out Ole Miss. Ohio State blew out Michigan State pretty much in the first half. It was on autopilot in the second half. So if you're going to put Georgia there, I'm fine with it. Georgia's kind of been the consensus number one team over the last two seasons. Um, sure, they're playing against better overall conference talent, but Ohio State's still up there. Ohio State's still got a capable offense and a really good defense that makes me feel good about this week against Minnesota and makes me feel better about what's going on in Michigan, which again, we'll talk about what happened there because the whole thing, I mean, everyone said it to death now. Oh, Jim Harbaugh is still alive, whatever. But it's crazy how kind of like overcooked that felt, you know.
At this point, to hell with Michigan. I hope they get the permanent ban. At this point, I'm happy Ohio State is no longer number one. It was only going to be a matter of time. As soon as you saw that Georgia was playing a ranked team, you knew that the committee wants the number one. At the same time, I think this also tells you the committee doesn't want Ohio State, Michigan playing each other for the second time this year, assuming that if Michigan would have been a 2 seed or 3 seed and Ohio State's the 1, you probably would have assumed as long as it's a close game, the winner goes to 1, the loser goes to 3 or 4. Almost you can pretty much guarantee that now with the loser of that game in here in 2 weeks is going to be out of contention completely of the college football playoff. But I mean, listen, Kyle McCord played his best game this past week. I think from start to finish, he played his best game. I think his best moment was the drive against Notre Dame this year. Marvin Harrison Jr., if he is not in New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation, then it is the biggest travesty to happen in college football this year. You want to take the best players. He is the best player in college football this year. I'm not saying he needs to win it because he's a wide receiver. It's very hard for wide receivers to win it. I understand that. But if he is not there, that is college football dropped the ball. The voters dropped the ball. Anybody that has a vote that can send people there, it need to be investigated immediately for not putting the best players there in a spot to succeed. Okay, that part's over because he should be there regardless.
Yeah, there were some people saying that Michigan should have jumped Ohio State as well because they beat Penn State this week. And to be fair, like it's a ranked team, yes, but I would say Ohio State played better against Penn State than Michigan did. Michigan didn't throw the ball after midway through the second quarter, which is crazy.
Yeah, no, they didn't. That's such a BS thing. Okay, cool. Guess what? You know why they're still behind Ohio State? Because Ohio State has 2 top 10 wins at the time. Michigan has
Right.
1 ranked win altogether.
And they beat the team that we kind of exposed as not that this is not the team to usurp Ohio State and Michigan. The passing game's still not there. The offense in general just still kind of struggles. Defense is still solid, but Drew Allar's got to grow a little bit before he can compete with these big boys.
And listen, I know he's at a Big Ten rival school. I will never actively root for him to be successful against Ohio State, but he looks very overmatched right now, and that's just putting it nicely. And Mitch, I don't know if it's fair to put it all on him because there's been one constant right now in a lot of these losses over this year and the past number of years.
Okay.
And it's James Franklin.
Yep, I knew it. I knew you were going there.
Penn State has been quite honestly, Penn State's been the 3rd best team now, probably for the past, how long we want to go? We want to say 6-7 years back to 2017, maybe. They've been the 3rd best team in the Big Ten. You know why they're the 3rd best team in the Big Ten? Because they can't beat the top 2 teams of the Big Ten, which are Ohio State and Michigan. I believe he's only beaten both of them once. Yes. Ohio State won. I remember. I can't remember if he's beaten Michigan.
I feel like he has.
I think yes. I think he did the clip that's always viral of Michigan having to burn a timeout to start the game when the crowd was going nuts. I think they beat Michigan that night. I could be wrong there.
He is 4-16 combined against Michigan and Ohio State, 3-17 against top 10 opponents, but pretty solid record among other Big Ten schools.
Well, that's the thing, though. He can have a solid record all he wants, but is he accomplishing what their goal is every year to win the Big Ten championship? He's not, and that's what is eventually going to and I'm not calling for his job. Okay. I'm not a Penn State fan. I hope they keep him at this point because Ohio State beats him every year. But at some point, Mitch, until he can get over that hump, which I have to imagine he's running out of time here. He's been there for how long?
Since I believe, what was it, 20, whatever Bill O'Brien left. So that was like what, 2014, 15?
So he's been there for almost 8 years, 8 full seasons. He is not.
Yes.
It's only gonna be a matter of time unless he gets something figured out. And Drew Allard was a top ranked recruit. Ohio State went after him. Okay, let's not sit here and act like he is this bad quarterback. Ohio State went after him late. He went to Penn State because they were one of the first schools to go after him. He liked Penn State. There's no harm in that whatsoever. He looks overmatched, and I also think that it's the coaching. There's something right now that Penn State cannot figure out how to beat Ohio State or Michigan or hang with them for the most part. Mitch, there's two sides of this. When was a better time they were going to have to beat Michigan other than this past Saturday? On the other side, when was a time Michigan was going to be more fired up to play Penn State?
Right.
You look at the game plan in the second half, Michigan barely threw the football. Penn State should have stacked that box and said, you're going to have to throw the football to beat us. And they didn't. And if they did, they couldn't stop them. And I can't give credit to Michigan because I just refuse to say that because I hate that team. But at the same time, the acting head coach, the interim head coach is the offensive line coach and the offensive coordinator. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he had to do to play to his team's strengths. And Michigan did what they had to do. This is trap week along all of college football, though. Let's remember that. I'm not sitting here telling you Ohio State's going to lose. I'm not sitting here.
Not for Ohio State.
Michigan is going to lose. There will probably be one team somewhere in college football this week, Mitch, that I have to venture will slip up somewhere because it typically happens every year. This is the week. My gosh, I don't even know who I was looking at the other day. It wasn't Alabama because typically I always make this joke and it's Alabama, but it wasn't Alabama.
They're playing Chattanooga. They're not losing.
Oh, no, that's what I mean, though. There are teams that play way lesser, but it was Alabama. Gosh, I joke about it so much that I was actually right this time. There's so many big college programs that typically save this week as their bye week where they invite these other schools that you would typically see in the first 4 weeks of the season to come down. Alabama is the epitome of that because they played these teams that I didn't even know had college football programs. Now, Chattanooga, yes, I do know they had a college football program, but they won't lose. But there are other teams in there. And I don't have the schedule in front of me, and I'm not going to because I have Twitter fresh about all this Deshaun Watson news still. I have to imagine, Mitch, there's going to be somebody in there that's playing an unranked opponent, either home or on the road, before they have a big rivalry game next week, and they will slip up. It's just what happens. Teams can't stay focused. Teams look ahead. Teams underestimate opponents. The question is, how high will that team be ranked currently? Because I don't see Georgia losing. I don't see Ohio State losing. I don't see Michigan losing. I don't see Florida State losing. I do want to say I believe that was one of the teams that also has a weak opponent this week. As I'm going to pull up the schedule here.
Yeah, Oregon versus Arizona State, Texas at Iowa State. Yeah, that's maybe the closest that I can think of. Maryland against Michigan. I'm not seeing any of these being spoilers to what's supposed to be a great final week in the playoff matchups. Yeah, I'm not seeing it.